Hey, good day, family. Welcome again to another video. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. All right. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of foolishness out there, as always, that's being discussed. But what we try to do on this platform here is we kind of like to take the bleacher seats, if you will, and just kind of look at everything. Not just the main topic itself, but kind of look around at how it's impacting the people, you know what I mean? And so that's what we try to do here. So thank you again for tuning in, to this shorter video. And what we try to do, of course, is we try to learn from these things as well, because I don't want to just do a video just to be doing a video, but what can we learn from these things and to become a much better people, a much better individual. So that's what we try to do on this platform. So hope you'll stick around. But anyway, let's get into the topic here on this particular video. For this one, I'm sorry to say I'm not going to talk about Cat Williams. Okay. I refuse to make that into a talking point on this platform. I just can't. I just can't. I mean, to sit and to watch how people are, it made me kind of come to conclusions to a lot of things when it comes to our people. As you know, on this platform, we do very deep dives on numbers of topics. One of the bigger ones is really taking a deep dive and understanding the Bible, the history of it, who wrote the Bible, asking hard, difficult questions that require you as the viewer and the listener to do your own research and to do your own investigation. And I tell you, so many people we've come across that on one hand, you have people who have been very much helped by it, but you've also come across people who just said, listen, I don't have the time to watch this. I don't have the time to listen to it. Just basically tell me the bottom line. And it's like, no, this is something that you base your life on. So you need to invest the time just like anybody else has, so that you know what you're talking about. And what this thing has shown me, this whole Cat Williams thing or whatever, is that it proves that our people will invest in exactly what we want to invest in. And what am I talking about? It's been interesting to see all throughout my timeline, channels I never heard of, people I've never met or heard of, that are doing CIA, FBI, Department of Homeland Security investigation in trying and finding, unearthing videos of comedians from long ago and doing side-by-side comparisons between one comedian who came up with the joke first. This is the this is the hot talking point right now. And going and doing deep dives into the careers of comedians. I mean, this is really what's being talked about right now. I mean, this is the hot topic right now at the time of this video that you're watching. But if you want to dive into things that are really of more importance, we don't have time for that. But anyway, so it's just, I don't know, we have entered into a season, I would say, where it's like a season of adolescence. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. Where people that appear to be adults, they certainly have the numbers, in terms of age to be adults. Legally, they're adults. But when you pay attention to what's being said and the rationales and the reasonings and stuff like that, and you just take the time and listen to some of these public discourses that are taking place, you would really think that you're listening to some very young teenagers. I mean, I'm just being honest. In a lot of the dialogue that I'm seeing out here, I'm like, wow, this is 400 years and this is what we're talking about. Comedians. This is the hot topic right now, or light skin versus dark skin. Or this is the topic right now, 2024. And so in this particular video, what I'm going to talk about is along this line of adolescence nonsense that I'm noticing. Is I've noticed that, as you know, there's a war among many wars that we're seeing right now between, people who say it's, this whole delineation wars. Now, just for the record again, And I've said this and I've emphasized this over and 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 over again, that yes, when you look through the diaspora, when you look at different black populations, regardless if it's here or, in any other country, each one of these places where you'll find black people, they have their own unique cultures. That's true. That's very, very true. What's also true is here in America, what has happened is that black has become the catch-all for all of these different cultures. But in many of the members of these other black cultures, they will make it very clear that, oh, I'm not them. I'm from Jamaica, or I'm not a black American. I'm this or that when it suits them. We already covered this, and it's very, very true. So black Americans rising up and saying, hey, listen, we have our own unique culture, and you need to put some respect on that. I'm 100% with that. I have no problems with that at all. Okay. I think the argument is sound. I think it's very clear, and I don't have a problem with that. Now, where I do have a problem with is when the case is being made on social media that many of these individuals that are pushing the case have to resort to 1980-ish lunchroom, name calling, in order to press the case. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, and I would say downright racist talking points as well. What I'm talking about is, making fun of Africans who don't, they don't have shoes, talking about, just random stuff. Of course, we know Africans, at least Africans I know, they have shoes, you know what I'm saying? But, if you go into certain cultures in their land sometime, maybe they don't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. I mean, that's just a cultural thing. It ain't just Africa. It's other cultures too that, shoes are optional or whatever, but that's just what it is. And then another thing that they like to point out is that a lot of stuff I'm seeing is the making fun of, let's say, the things that they lack, such as electricity, the type of foods. I'm seeing people coming out. I'm talking about black Americans now coming out and saying that your food is disgusting. And I saw one tweet that was posted recently. This is a Jamaican restaurant that was opened down in Tennessee, I think it was. And this is a black individual saying that I wish these people would go back to their land. This is a black person saying this. This wasn't a white person saying this. This is a black person saying this. Going back to your land, it's Jamaican food. What are you talking about? So what I'm seeing is that a lot of these people who are wanting to delineate themselves, which we can agree on that, but you're going to such a far extreme where you are taking Jim Crow-ish talking points. Not ish. I'll take the ish off. You're literally using like Jim Crow talking points. Another one that what we're talking about for this video is, the making fun of African countries that are struggling with waste management. You may see on many videos like on YouTube or whatever. And of course, this isn't all African countries, but many of these impoverished nations within Africa are currently struggling with waste management. It's a big thing, but we're going to not just focus on Africa, because in order to understand this issue, you got to look at it from a much wider perspective, which we're going to do very quickly here. And so, I've seen my more than fair share of individuals that are making fun of Africans because, you got trash all over the place. And, before you start saying anything over here, you need to clean up the trash over there in your country and all of this stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of this stuff. And again, I'm like, how old are you again? I mean, really, how old are you? And this is how you talk. This is your talking point. Talking about how people have to deal with trash and they're living in trash and all of this stuff. You're living in a sewer and you guys smell. This is coming from black people. See what we try to do on this platform is we have these conversations that we try to have adult, honest conversations that a lot of times that will get people to unsubscribe from your channel, because a lot of people don't want to have these conversations, but this is happening every day. It's literally happening every day. And so anyway, so you got the trash issue, right? That they try to bring up and make fun of people. Same thing with India as well. They'll bring up India and say, look at the, they got smelly trash, and they're crapping all over the place because they don't have toilets. You can't be like us. This kind of stuff. I'm like, huh? And so, first of all, before we get into, there's one video I want to show you. Number one, like I said in my post, is that people who live in glass houses, like the saying goes, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Okay, we'll just start off with that point. But let's go back to just waste management in of itself, okay? Waste management itself, number one, isn't solely and strictly an African problem. It's not. This is a worldwide problem. And the reason why it's a problem is because of the fact that when you go back in time, let's say hundreds of years back, they didn't have, I don't have food wrappers here, thankfully, but food that we would normally get, that they would get, it was right there coming straight from the pot, right from the dish and into your mouth. That's it. So there was no wrappers. You didn't have all of that stuff. Some cultures, they use banana leaves when they wrap their food, or when they're cooking their food, they wrap it in banana leaves or some type of leaf or something like that. So everything was what we would say biodegradable for the most part, right? When it came to waste, a lot of these cultures, it doesn't matter what culture you're looking at. I'm talking about indigenous cultures. They all went to the bathroom, right? So there were certain areas of their land that they had allocated to do that stuff, to handle your business. So this is all natural, right? But the reason why this has become a big issue in the world that we live in today, like I said, this is all over, including here in America, is because of the fact that all of the stuff, just with food, for example, everything comes with a wrapper, right? Then we enter in, computers and electronics and stuff like that. You have, what do you do with that? Those aren't natural things. Computers don't grow on trees. At some point, computers and phones get old. So what happens? People toss them, right? And so now what do you do with all of these millions and millions of phones and computers that nobody has use for of anymore? So what happens to that? And then you have, clothes. Clothes is another thing, another one, huge, where, a lot of us who, let's say if you outgrow your clothes or your clothes get a little bit worn and you're just like, what, let me go ahead and get rid of it now. Let me take it to the Goodwill or something like that. Well, Goodwill, organizations like Goodwill, they oftentimes get an overabundance of clothes that nobody wants to buy. So what do they do with them? They ship them to places like in countries in Africa, where there's a whole cottage industry that was set up just to resell these clothes. So, and then the clothes that they don't want over there, they waste them. Well, where do they waste them? Where do they throw them? I mean, it's pretty much anywhere. So that has created its own waste management problem in of itself. Right. And so, but that's in Africa. But like I said, you can look here in America, ongoing issue of waste management. What do we do with this waste? You hear some cases where we're quote unquote running out of room. France, for example, has been dealing with waste management issues since I don't know when. I've never visited France, but everyone I know tells me it smells horrible, because they talk about a lot of times this elaborate sewage system that they have under the city and all of this, and it's like, oh, that's nice or whatever, but people say they can smell it all the time. So that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? Name the country, you will find that to some degree, in some measure, they are dealing with their own issues when it comes to waste management. And it's simply because of the time that we live in right now. We create new junk. You know what I mean? We're not living 100% off the land. You know what I mean? From wrappers to clothes to electronics to, our vehicles and all that stuff. These are things that we make, but they're not biodegradable. They don't just return back to the earth. So what ends up happening is that people have to dig holes or whatever they got to do and just dig them in so people don't see them again, right? Or they'll just pile them onto barges, send them out to sea somewhere, and then turn the other way. There's even video out here you can look on YouTube where you have whole ships that are just dumping trash into the ocean. They'll go somewhere in the middle of the ocean and just start dumping it. So waste management in of itself is a big thing. Now, again, someone may be listening to this like, okay, well, you're talking too big. You bring it down to where I can understand what we're getting with this topic. Okay, follow me. Okay, hopefully you follow me. But there's a reason why I'm saying all this, because bringing it back to this lunchroom cafeteria nonsense that we're seeing amongst our people. I'm talking about adults now that want to make fun of African nations or other nations that are really having a hard time with this issue. You are not taking the time like we just did in these last few minutes to understand that why waste management is a big issue. All right. Another reason, and the thing that really gets me as a Black American when I hear Black folks making fun of these other nations, the thing that really gets me is that these other Black Americans speak as if they themselves have come up with a solution on how to deal with waste management, when in actuality, they did not. You're simply relying on what this system that is largely controlled by white people, what they developed. You didn't develop it. Let's call it a full buck. That's very true. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's very true. And we're going to keep asking this question for the remainder of this video. What is your solution when it comes to waste management? Okay. And I think this is a very important topic, because if we are going to consider ourselves or call ourselves a nation within a nation or whatever, then these are some of the topics or some of the things that we really need to be thinking about anyway, right? So let me share with you this video. I have a ton of videos I could share with you just on this topic alone, but I think this one will suffice. But let me pull this video up here. Now, this is in Alabama. This is just one example. Down in Alabama, they have been wrestling with this waste management issue. Now, these are what, since we're delineating here, these are Black American folks. Okay. So let's take a look at this short video here. It's brought to us by al.com. And we're going to take a listen to this video on an issue that's been going on down in places like Alabama and Mississippi, because we could talk about Jackson, Mississippi as well. And there are other areas as well been wrestling with for a very long time. Let's take a listen at this short video.
On these roads because it has so many potholes.
Always do that, y'all. Sorry about that. I'll fix that in 3, 2, 1. All right. So let's rewind it. Start again.
You wouldn't want to drive it around on these roads because it has so many potholes. You wouldn't want to be here at certain times of the day because the odor gets so bad. You wouldn't want to be here when my sewage bags up because of the problem with the city sewage. You don't want to be around the possibility of what coal ash can cost you. Visit at your own risk. How do I feel to live in a town with so many issues? Helpless.
When you're talking about Uniontown, the town has so many issues that sometimes it's easy to get lost in all of the many different things that are going on there. But today we're focusing on their wastewater treatment system, their sewage system, which is broken in a lot of different ways that manifests in some pretty smelly results in the town. Basically, the sewage collection system leaks. That means it both lets sewage out around the manholes and it lets rainwater in. And in fact, it lets so much rainwater in that every time it rains in Uniontown, their sewage system is completely flooded and the treatment processes that they have set up there don't work.
We have had some serious issues with our sewage, and this has been going on for decades. decades, and that never should have happened.
The sewer pipes that are supposed to take everything from all the houses, they carry all of that material to a lagoon. The lagoon has 3 cells where basically the material is supposed to get treated along the way. And then once it passes its way through the lagoon, it gets pumped to what's called a spray field, which is exactly what it sounds like. Most of the time in a spray field, it's supposed to get absorbed back into the ground or evaporate into the air. In Uniontown, the soil has so much clay in it that the water just doesn't percolate. Where you're supposed to have a field with grasses where the water is gently absorbed, basically you just have a pond. And that pond, every time it rains, is just completely inundated.
The lagoon dam have burst, and it is constantly running into Freetown Creek.
That sewage, once it reaches Freetown Creek, it keeps flowing down to Gee's Bend, which flows into the Alabama River.
Are anyone screaming about what they're causing, what type pain and impact they're causing people downstream? No. When
this partially treated sewage gets released, there's a lot of bacteria in it that could be harmful for you if you come in contact with it. Whenever there's a sanitary sewer overflow, a sewage spill, those are supposed to be reported to the Alabama Department of Public Health and to the Alabama Department of Environmental Management and to the public as well. A big problem here is that Uniontown does not have a lot of financial resources. They actually received a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for $4.8 million to address some of these issues. People in the community were saying that grant money is wasted because they don't see any improvements. The engineering company who received that grant says they did all they could with the amount of funding they had. Centel Engineering is the company that's been working with the town of Uniontown, and they've proposed 5 different options for big picture fixes for the system. These 5 options all cost more than $20 million. Some of them involve building a modern wastewater treatment plant. The option that the Uniontown City Council has voted to go with is a different option. They are planning to, if they can find the money, construct a wetland treatment process. After the sewage goes through the lagoon, it would be discharged into a created wetlands where you would have cattails and other plants to try and naturally absorb some of the nutrients from the wastewater and kind of finish the treatment process and get the water clean enough to where it's able to be discharged into the creek.
I'll just stop there. So you pretty much had the idea. So a lot of these towns that are Black American towns, Black folks, okay, are at the mercy of this system to provide a solution when it comes to waste management. So this is why it's really sad and it's really immature when I hear our people here making fun of our people throughout the diaspora for not having, proper quote unquote waste management systems. All you have to do is turn your ashy neck and look right behind you, and you'll see that even in our own towns, on our own, we don't have the solutions ourselves. Instead, we have to depend on the system to provide that. Now, the other thing I would add as well is that we love to take pride in, and this is another thing, it's a favorite pastime on social media, I guess. We love to go back, because that's the other trend right now. A lot of our people are going back and wanting to lay claim to a bunch of different inventions and discoveries. Yeah, Black people, we developed that. Yep, Black Americans did that. Yep, Black people did this too. Yeah, Black people did that too. And we love to look behind and take credit for all of these inventions and stuff. But here I just showed you a video where Black folks here in America, in many of these towns that are mostly made up of them, they don't even have a solution, a one that's affordable, that they can come up with to properly get rid of waste. So again, you want to talk about Africa. What about what's going on back here? What's going on in your own backyard? See, again, these are things that we don't want to talk about because of pride, because of arrogance. And this is the kind of stuff that is ripping our people apart, both near and far. because we don't want to be honest about these things. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a most unfortunate situation, but it's same thing with Flint, Michigan. Places like Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan certainly isn't the only example. We've been talking about the importance of getting fresh, clean water and not depending on the government, and not only that, providing you with resources on where you can go to get spring water, pointing to you to places all over the nation on where you can get clean, fresh water, or if you can't access those things, what tools you can purchase so that you and your family can get fresh, clean water in your house. These are things that if our people would at least have acted on that information, just on that little information that we provided. Flint, Michigan, we wouldn't have had to be on social media crying and like, look at all this water. It's brown here. Look at this. And they ain't doing nothing for us. But then as soon as we get on social media, we want to talk about other people and how they're living in squalor and situations and they've got trash all over the place. Do you see how stupid and immature and self-defeating this thing really, how it really is getting out here right now in these internet streets? We don't want to be honest. And that's what we try to do on this platform. It's time for us to hold the mirror up and be honest with ourselves, when it comes to these topics here. Now, as far as the whole topic of waste management of itself, what are the solutions? What are some things we can do about that? Well, this is where, when you look at the environmental movement. Now, the environmental movement, of course, has their, extreme members, they can be a little extreme in some of their agendas, but the core of what they put out is something that I think as a people, we should definitely pay very close attention to: the importance of caring for your environment and investing whatever time you have in caring for your own environment. Because like I said before, if you are a person that hates yourself, your environment is going to reflect that. It's just what it is. And so what you see in a lot of these areas is a reflection of how the people feel about themselves. Many years ago, I was about 20, I think at the time, 19, 20 years old. I led a group of some young black men, that was right in my general, not in my exact town. It was like the next town over. And what we did was every Saturday, I went, got them some brooms, and we got some trash cans and all trash bags or whatever. And we would go through the streets and we would just sweep the streets. We start picking up trash. We start doing that. And that was just on our own. I didn't need government funding for that. I didn't need an attaboy from that. I didn't need the church to come back me or anything like that. It was a need. And it was something that I said, you know what? I need to invest. I need to, get these young men to begin to value their environment. You know what I mean? And because, again, how you see yourself on the inside is going to have a direct reflection on how you see yourself. How your environment is going to reflect how you see yourself. That's basically what I'm saying. And so this is a problem that you're going to see in most communities, black communities, regardless if it's here in the United States or abroad. You're going to see that. Our communities, a lot of times this is a huge issue. It's a very big issue when it comes to waste management. And it starts with us. Waste management begins with us. A lot of times we've developed a mindset where our waste management strategy for our minds is to live in it. Yes, that's right. You live in waste. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about mentally. A lot of our people love to cohabitate with bull crap that's on social media. You will spend hours upon hours upon hours indulging in nonsense that doesn't add up to anything in anybody's life. It doesn't add a positive. It doesn't build anything. And you just love drama. A lot of our people love drama. I mentioned this whole Cat Williams nonsense. It's people they just love just the drama. Oh, did you see what he said? I'm waiting for Steve Harvey to say something now. What's he going to say? And then what about so-and-so? What are they going to say? We love that kind of stuff because we love drama. We love to see each other argue and all of that stuff. We love all of that stuff. See, all of this is tied to what I'm saying is waste management. That's trash. That's garbage. And we've developed a mindset where we have, think it's okay to cohabitate with that. And we're afraid to draw lines. And no, enough is enough. You got to get out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Well, same thing even in the natural. I'm talking about, when it comes to when we see trash, let's say in our own communities, for example, don't wait for the trash man to do something. Don't wait for the HOA to do something. You take the initiative. You pick it up. You put it in the trash. Do you understand what I'm saying? When it comes to things like the bigger issues such as sewage and things like that, well, that's where it's on you to get involved with your, city council and whatever, so that you can work together with the people there and come up with viable solutions. You understand what I'm saying? And so that we're not just leaving it up to the Democrats or the Republicans to figure it out. These are things that we can take the initiative and do ourselves. But the reason why I wanted to do this video, because I kind of was like, I can't believe I'm talking about this. But these are things, this is where we are. This is exactly where many of our people are. It's like when I'm sitting there looking at social media, some of the social media pages and how people just are going after. I mean, literally, I constantly get these flashbacks when I hear of white kids and it's, calling these different people in these other, more impoverished nations like, oh, look at you, you're living in trash and you're looking at this. Well, I'm asking you, what is your plan to get rid of the trash in your community amongst your people? What is your plan for that? So we desperately need adults to kind of put the brakes on all of this nonsense that's out here. Because I'm telling you, the people that seem to be adults out here, or at least legally are the adults, if you're engaging in this kind of banter on social media, I tell you, it shows you exactly how far we really have to go. Many of our people have to go when it comes to topics such as this. But I just wanted to take a few minutes and just talk about this because I said, this is we have, if you want to call yourself and say we're a nation or we're, try to see yourself as this large, one big monolith group, then you got to start asking yourself, what are our solutions when it comes to this? What's our solutions when it comes to this or that or whatever? You understand what I'm saying? And if your solutions tie to a reparations check or a handout from the government, then my friend, you don't have a solution. You're just kicking the can. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.